Welcome. So, as you all know that are here, I think Anne, no, I don't know. Anne, have you been to these before? Just so I know.
No, this is the first time.
Oh, wonderful. And are you a hypnotist? Are you just interested in hypnosis?
Just interested.
Wonderful. Because this is open to everybody. And we get a lot of hypnotists on here because these are good for CEUs. But it's these are designed for people, educational purposes, and to have fun, of course, because we all like to have fun. And it looks like we're all ladies here tonight, so we can maybe have a little more fun than sometimes what we can have. Not that men aren't fun, but you know, it's different. So again, I normally do these the third Wednesday of the month, but as some of you know, last Wednesday was my birthday. So what's that?
I said, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And so I just decided, and normally I would still have done it, but I had some other plans with my significant other. So actually the end of the year is going to be a little strange because there's some other things that are going on. You can always find it on my website, hypnosis.com. But this is also considered a monthly chapter meeting for the Hypnosis Education Association and for the International Association of Counselors and Therapists. I am this year and next year the president of the Hypnosis Education Association. So we do a little short, hopefully less than 5-minute announcements about what they have going on. And I'm a trainer, a certified master trainer for the International Association of Counselors and Therapists. So just quickly, to cover that part of it. The conference for the Hypnosis Education Association is coming up November 11th through the 13th of November. And that's a weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Orlando, Florida at the Drury Inn. Their website is heahypnosis.com. Hello, Renee. How are you? I see you.
Can't hear me.
I don't know if she can hear me. There you go.
Hi,
And
I can't hear.
Uh-oh. She'll figure it out. So that's their that's their fall conference. And then next spring sometime you can watch for the notifications. We do a one-day conference in Oldsmar, Florida, which is close to where I live. And that's just a one-day conference. It's open to anybody. It's an educational group. Again, it's like these. If you're a hypnotist, you'll learn something and get CEUs. If you're not a hypnotist and you just want to learn how to use your mind better or more efficiently, then you can pick up some tips and some ideas and expand your mind. I think it's always good to expand your mind. And now for the IACT part of the chapter meeting, IACT, again, I'm a trainer for them. Their conference in 2023, they do one a year, is going to be May 19th through the 21st, and their website is iact.org. When I edit these and put them out on YouTube, I always put the websites and things on there, but if you want to know them, you can always contact me. And if you don't already know, my company is Up Hypnosis Institute is my training arm. My full name of my company is Unlimited Possibilities Hypnosis Incorporated. And Up High for short, which is much shorter. And my website is uphypnosis.com. So you can always contact me for anything. I'm going to have some things I'm going to show you during tonight, because again, since it's short, I try to offer you some little tidbits and things and squeeze a lot in. And then I'll send you some stuff if you want it after we're done. All you have to do is email me at uphypnosis@yahoo, or you can get me through the website. You can always get me through there, but uphypnosis@yahoo.com or outlook.com. Either one will get it to me. So IACT, that's all for them. My only announcement for my company is that we are doing, I already mentioned next month is November 15th. It'll be on a Tuesday, The Power of Gratitude. And in December 10th and 11th, Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to be offering for the first time in about 4 years, I'm offering again the Certified Parts Therapy Facilitator training through the Tebbets Parts Therapy Foundation. Well, that's a mouthful. So I'm a certified trainer for them, and I haven't done it in a while. So it's going to be really a interesting, comprehensive parts therapy training in the style of Charles Tebbets, with, of course, my input and opinion coloring the whole thing, because, you know, that's what we do. So thank you all for coming, and let's just get right into it. There aren't very many of us here. I usually do introductions on the longer webinars, but we don't have time tonight for that. So we'll just have to get to know each other as we go along. And if you have questions or you want to add something, please feel free to raise your hand and jump in. Otherwise, I'm just going to start right in here. So we're talking about minding your weight and diet, right? Weight and diet. You can't live without eating. So more than anything else, weight and diet issues it's a daily thing, right? It's sometimes a many times a day thing that people struggle with many times. And it's the kind of thing with us as hypnotherapists, when we work with obviously that type of a goal, if it's a weight goal, usually they don't come to a hypnotherapist because they want to lose 5 pounds. They usually come to us because they've had a longer term issue with weight and diet. Not always, but it might be like my wedding's coming up, or something's happening in a month or two and I want to lose a few pounds. That could happen, but most of the time it's longer term. And we as hypnotherapists, the first thing I want to mention is, and I know most of you on here know that, if not all of you, that if we are not a licensed nutritionist or a licensed dietitian, we are not allowed to give nutritional or diet advice. That's not our job. And it's literally outside of our scope of practice. And by the way, that's not, when they come to us, that's not going to be the issue anyway. Most adults, if you're working with adults, they already know pretty much, most people, what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat, what gets them in trouble, and all of those things. That's the conscious, logical part of the mind. And we can help the client. One of the things I wanted to bring up when we're working with weight and diet issues is it is even more important to make sure you've got their logical, conscious mind on board with what you're going to be working with at the unconscious or subconscious level of the mind. And when I use the word unconscious during this, or if you see it, I think one of my handouts is from many years ago when I used the word subconscious just as a habit. Anything I say other than conscious means outside of your awareness, just so that's clear. The part of your mind that runs your body, for instance, when you fall asleep at night. The part of your mind that has those programs running that when you're on automatic, they take over. Like when you jump in the car and you got to hurry up and go to the store and you've been there 1,000 times, you don't have to think about where to make your turns, or any of that, or where to find the door to the store. You already know that. It's already programmed in. So most of what we do throughout our day is routine programmed in, and we really don't have to, in the moment, think too much about it. So our conscious mind can be doing other things, thinking about the weekend coming up or planning ahead for, thinking, I got to get up tomorrow and exercise, to meet my weight goal or whatever. So the conscious mind is freed up for that. In some studies that they do, I don't know how they measure it, say that up to 85% of the day, we are in a light state of hypnosis, which means alpha level, very light, which is where you can do a lot of work in hypnosis, by the way, if not most of it. And we are just, in other words, we're on automatic. So when you're driving to that store you've been to 1,000 times, you don't have to think about, again, where to turn or any of that. So you can be daydreaming. You can be thinking about other stuff because your automated responses and the rest of your mind knows how to get to the store, knows how to park the car and all of that. So with weight and diet issues, again, more than anything else, we got to make sure that the conscious and the unconscious is on board. Generally, when I work with weight issues, I'm going to see someone a minimum of 6 sessions. For a lot of other things, my minimum is a 3-session package, because usually in 3 sessions, a lot of things can be resolved, taken care of, and they can be on their way. Most of us here, I think, would agree when we're doing hypnosis with people, all we're really doing is guiding them and teaching them how to do self-hypnosis. Or you might even think of it as how to unhypnotize themselves from what already was programmed in and is now automatic, like going to the grocery store and all of a sudden that ice cream jumps in the cart and you find yourself at home with a pint of ice cream and you say, I'm not talking about anybody I know, but you say, it just jumped in the cart. I don't know where that came from. I wasn't even aware that I bought that. So all those automated things, right? So with hypnosis, you can, with that intention that the conscious mind sets a goal, that's part of its job, is to set a goal, a destination, an outcome, an intention, whatever words you want to use. And then if it's powerful enough, if you're motivated enough, oh, Jessica's showing up. If you're motivated enough, then with hypnosis, we can get the message with efficient language that the unconscious mind understands, because the unconscious part of the mind has a whole different language meaning behind things. And most people are trying to talk to themselves like they would a logical person and say, I won't eat chocolate. I won't eat chocolate. You know, they're saying these affirmations and things. And guess what? The unconscious mind, all it's hearing all day. I actually had somebody in a class one time saying that she told herself that all day long. I said, Dr. Phil, in my head, then how's that working for her? You know, of course it wasn't working. She said she just keeps craving chocolate. I said, that's because that's what you're thinking about all the time. And the unconscious mind already has it in there, programmed in. I love chocolate. It makes me feel good. So the unconscious mind, when you're saying, I won't eat chocolate, I won't eat chocolate, all it hears is chocolate, 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 chocolate all day long. And that means it's going to do what it's been already trained to do. So with hypnosis, I think of it as we open up that channel. We're able to open the channel to the unconscious, and then we want to tell it what we actually want instead of what we don't want, which is to eat chocolate or to lose weight, right? That's not efficient language for the unconscious, because lose has negative connotations to it. The unconscious mind is like, oh, I don't like to lose, losing. And if you lose something, you want to go find it again, and if you keep losing it and you have to keep finding it again, you might actually pack on a few extra pounds just to make sure you don't lose them anymore. So now you got more of so you won't lose it. It's really interesting. It's not that your unconscious isn't smart, but it's not the right kind of language for the unconscious mind. So when we're working with clients with hypnosis, we're talking to the part of their mind that really always wants them to be healthy, happy, successful, all of that. So if their conscious mind says, I would like to be a size 7 instead of a size 16, let's say the client says that, or that's somebody's goal, the unconscious mind already has programmed in how to keep that size 16 going. It's automated. And if it wasn't, they wouldn't be coming to a hypnotist, first of all. And we know about yo-yo dieting, right? So the unconscious mind is the part of the mind that once it gets the goal efficiently and it knows what you want and it's healthy for you and you're motivated, that's the other part of it, right? You got to make it a priority. Then the conscious mind can plan and set schedules and plan shopping and plan cooking and whatever else. Maybe decide to hire a nutritionist or dietitian or hire a personal trainer or whatever else logically. But a hypnotist with hypnosis or self-hypnosis, again, which is what it all is, we can talk to the unconscious part of our mind and ask it to help us with all the rest of it, because a lot of it is about emotions. I would actually say all of it is about how we feel. How we feel about ourselves, how we feel when we look in the mirror, when we're trying on clothes in a store, all of those things that tap into emotions that are going to trigger things. And one of the pieces that I want to show you, can you all see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This is a piece that I give out to my weight clients, people that come to me with a weight goal. So brain neurochemicals and emotions in food. Most of you probably already know this. In the old days when I started 30 years ago, a lot of people weren't aware of some of these things, but it's a little more common that people do know about it. But it's nice, even if you do know this, to remind yourself. Many of the foods we crave when we're stressed trigger the release of brain chemicals that calm us down, make us feel like we're more in control. It's not just accidental that people eat when they're stressed. Chocolate, for instance, it contains, I'm gonna obliterate some of these definite or pronouncements, if anybody knows how to pronounce these. Phenethylamine, I think it is, phenethylamine. It's a substance that boosts the production of endorphins. Y'all know about endorphins. That's the happy hormones. So when you eat chocolate, your brain produces endorphins. So that's why you feel that sense of well-being, those in happier. Short term, right? Sugar, we know all about sugar is in almost everything you buy, sparks the production of serotonin. And that's a brain chemical that balances out your moods. So If your serotonin levels are low, by the way, guess what? People get depressed. So the mind and body is going to naturally try to go for something that is short-term, going to make it feel better. And stress, of course, we know that's a part of everything that we are challenged with in our lives, especially if we're working on a goal that we know we should be able to reach, that is definitely doable, but we keep failing. Then stress just gets stronger and stronger, and our self-esteem, our self-image, all of that goes with that. Stress releases a chemical called the neuropeptide Y, which creates a hunger for carbs. And of course, carbs trigger a surge in serotonin. So it becomes this cycle, right? Stress-busting eating plan. And again, as hypnotists, unless you are a licensed nutritionist or dietitian, we don't give diet advice. But I give this piece out because this is common knowledge. And I'm not giving out advice about it. I'm just giving them information. Whole grain breads, pasta, fruits, and vegetables all contain tryptophan. And that's an amino acid that stimulates serotonin. There it is again. To boost energy, turkey, chicken, low-fat cheese, fish, those release brain chemicals of dopamine and norepinephrine, which help you to concentrate, that help you to feel confident. And the lean proteins give you a steady supply of energy. So there you go. This is just a little piece that I give my clients just to let them know that it's not accidental that you feel better when you reach for that chocolate or whatever. And this is not to say that, you know, they're going to keep doing that. The good news is we can get the unconscious mind to start tapping into, hi, Diane. I just saw Diane there. Speaking of licensed nutritionist, dietitians. So these are some of the things that I give out to my clients. And again, if you want a copy of that, just as a reminder of some of those things, then I will be happy to send that to you. So it's usually with us, it's going to be a longer term goal. I usually do 6 session minimum because about a week apart, usually at least the first 3 are going to be a week apart. And then I might spread it a little bit more for the last 3, maybe make it 2 weeks apart so that they get enough skills and enough processes in place and get that momentum going so that then they're on their own and they can keep some of the things going. Relaxation, self-hypnosis, all of those things, breathing, doing breathing and stretching are all things that can help to calm that stress level that will also help with some of those habitual things that people end up doing that causes them to not succeed at their weight goals. So let me do a little thing here. Now, not people on this call, some of you are hypnotists that want to work with people with weight issues. Some are just interested in the general concepts. Some of you might want it for yourself. With me, it's a lifetime. Always, always, always. I have to keep reminding myself, keep it at the forefront. Otherwise, in my family, you know, and this is not an excuse, but it's a fact, my family does tend to excess weight. And that's a mindset, though. And I also know they did things because I stayed thin through most of my life. I've been a little bit challenged the last 10, 15 years, more than I had been. But it's got to be at the forefront. It's got to be a priority. And so hopefully there'll be something in this little process I'd like to do with all of you, just as an example of what could happen in 1 year. So think about some goal you have. If it isn't a weight or a size or something that you want to change about yourself, think of a goal you have. It doesn't matter what the goal is. And if you would like to close your eyes, or you can keep them open because we can imagine with our eyes open. It's just sometimes a little easier with your eyes closed. And project yourself in your mind, because it can go anywhere in an instant, out to 1 year from today. And your mind can have some concept of where that is out in the future. As if you could project yourself out there right now and be there right now. So arriving now, 1 year has passed since you were on that Zoom call a year ago. And you had a goal back then a year ago that now you have either reached Maybe you reached it quite a while ago during the year, or maybe you just reached it recently, or maybe this goal is something you've just made a whole lot of progress on in the past year. So let yourself be here right now, knowing that you have achieved or are well on your way to achieving the goal that you had back then that you thought about. And imagine in front of you, there's a mirror. And this is a very special kind of mirror that your mind can create because it knows all about you, even things that you haven't discovered yet. It knows everything you've ever been or thought or said or dreamt. It knows everything you are right now, that you've arrived at this place, having done all you did for the past year to get where you are, to get to this place with your goal. And it also knows from this point moving forward in your life, all that you are capable of, maybe some traits or talents that you haven't even fully tapped into yet in your life. So it knows all about you. And this mirror represents that part of you. I like to call it that higher intelligence within you. And however you think of those kinds of things, let this mirror represent this. And as you look in the mirror, seeing yourself, and if your goal was about your physical size or shape, notice those things. And if it was about some other goal in your life, just notice how you carry yourself. Notice how you stand. And this mirror, being magical and knowing everything about you, can also see inside of your mind, your body, your emotions, and it can tell you. And this mirror can show you inside of yourself some of the changes at the cellular level. This mirror can reflect back to you some of the changes in your bones. It can reflect back to you some of the changes in your internal organs. And it can even show you on this magical mirror emotionally and mentally all the things that have shifted for you in positive, healthy ways for you to arrive here at this place. So let yourself be here and let that reflection, however you are aware of it. Now, some people see things when they imagine, some people just know. Some people just can think about it, and just let yourself receive the information in any way you can, as if you're looking right there into your own eyes of your more intelligent self, that inner intelligence, and let it reflect back to you some new information, some helpful information, maybe some compliments, some accolades about all you did to get here, some things you learned in the past year, some things you've changed, some things that are no longer important to you that perhaps used to be, and some things that are now of the utmost importance, maybe that you hadn't made important back in the past. And knowing that you're reflecting to yourself now all of these amazing things that you are capable and have accomplished in 1 year. Bring yourself now, project yourself back, and bringing all of that intelligence, all of that awareness, all of those accomplishments, all the way back to now and back here. And you can just, if your eyes were closed, you can open them and just come back into this space where we are all together here on this call. And just let yourself know that by doing that little exercise, that quick little thing, that you were tapping into what we do when we imagine things like this is I think of it as kind of giving ourselves permission to get out of our own way just long enough to imagine that we already know we can do this. I don't think we set any goal for ourselves that somewhere inside of us, we don't have a real absolute feeling that it's possible that we can achieve it. There's a part of us that always, parts therapy, there's a part of us that always knows you can do this. There's just some things that need some adjustment, sometimes on the logical level, on the conscious level, some changes in routines, perhaps some planning, some scheduling, maybe some educational things, finding ways to educate yourself on nutrition or other things. And then the unconscious level, though, it already knows what you need. And when I work with weight and diet issues, to me, it's about right now, how to get that person to feel right now, and every moment is now. And I always refer to my now clock that I have. It says now. Every number is now. That coming back into now, and if you can get the client or yourself every moment right now to be in that kind of a place where you know you're on your way to getting there. And with weight in the first session, I always like to set the destination as the ultimate ideal weight or size that that person wants to achieve. With weight issues, it's easier than with some others. We, as hypnotists, we know that the more specific the goal for the unconscious mind to know what you want, the more efficiently and the more quickly it's going to get it for the person. So if you say, oh, I just think it'd be nice to be a little thinner, that's pretty vague. So you wake up 2 weeks later and you're a tiny bit thinner, and most people wouldn't be happy with that. So you want to let your mind know exactly what you want. So we're going to be more specific. With weight, we can do that, or with size. So be a size 7 by December 31st, 2022 or 2023, or my birthday next year, or whatever it is. And to set that specific destination, and then having that as the trajectory, like setting the GPS in your car, right? Now you know where the end result is most likely going to be. It might be a little one side or the other before or after that. Or somebody might think they want to be a size 7. They might get down to size 9 and realize, you know what, I'm happy here. I feel good here. This point in my life, this is where I feel comfortable. So that's always, you can always adjust these things as they go along. But to have that pinpoint destination helps the unconscious GPS to know to get to that store, to get to that grocery store instead of the 1-2 blocks away, right? You got to know where exactly you want to end up. And then it can get adjusted, like I said, along the way, but to know that so that the client can keep coming back to that. And then in subsequent sessions, because the other part of that is to get excited. Because I know some hypnotists will say, well, I'm going to start my client off and have them work on the first 5 pounds or the first 10 pounds. And we're going to really focus on that first. And I was doing a demo in a class one time a few years ago. And I was doing a demo with a lady who that happened to be her goal, was to get rid of some excess weight. And when the other student had recommended that that's the way they would do it, I asked her, I said, let me ask you, this is the first session, right? I'm doing the pre-talk. I said, when you think about losing 10 pounds, because I watched her body language when this person was talking about it, and her whole body language, she just started slumping in the chair. And so I asked her, because I already knew what the answer was going to be. I said, does that get you excited? And she says, well, it's more realistic, And I'm like, now look where she is now compared to a few minutes ago before they had said that. She was really pumped, and I had her all excited. So when you set that tone, that first session, I want that client to, first of all, believe it's possible. Second of all, believe now I'm on my way. Now I'm in the process of achieving this, and I can really get excited. So that future projection, if it's a size or a weight, and you can get that person to go to a point where they think reasonably in the future that is possible, and to get a feeling of it, because again, it's about feelings. See, when our clients set goals, some people think they're setting the goal because they want the goal, because they want the money, because they want the great job or the great relationship or the healthier, thinner body. That's not what it's about. It's about, for the client, how they imagine they're going to feel when they achieve that goal, or when they get that relationship, or when they get to that body size. It's about how they imagine they're going to feel. So to me, the power at the unconscious level is to get it to feel it now, to give it a little taste, because our imagination can do anything. And again, if they can imagine the goal, somewhere in their mind, they've got a sense that it's possible. So you can get them to get out of their way long enough to go into that future, to be there now, as if it's right now, and feel, what's it like? How does your body feel? How do you hold yourself? What's your breathing like? What's your stress level like? What's it like when you run up those stairs to go to work? Whatever it is that's important to them. and to get them to get a sense of that feeling and to hold on to that. Now we know we can also set little anchors and triggers. We can set, I call it pivotal response conditioning, and I connect it to that sense of them at that goal, at that end result. And I start creating ways for them throughout their day to be able to do in one breath, a little process to pivot themselves into that state a little bit. Because as long as they can hold on to that feeling of what it feels like to be confident, to feel comfortable in my body, all those, whatever it is for them, the more they can get a little taste of that throughout their trajectory to that ultimate destination, the easier and the more quickly their mind is going to help them to get there. And it'll keep focusing on the things in their environment that are going to keep adding to that feeling, adding to that sense. Does that make sense? That every goal is about how they imagine they're going to feel, right? And it's not about how we think they should feel. Hopefully, if you're a hypnotist or some kind of a therapist or a coach or whatever, you know, I always say I don't think our job is to give advice. It's about what does that person want, and how can I help them to get it? So what does that mean to them? What does it mean to you to reach the goal that you had in mind a few minutes ago? Doesn't matter what it means to anybody else, because it's your mind that is going to help you to get to it, because it wants to feel that way. And that's part of what makes you want the goal, right? That might be everything about it. So that's what that's all about. So these, again, the pivotal response condition, I've got a whole thing on that. There's a handout that I would like to make available to you because I ran across it earlier when I was doing some research to get ready for this class. And this was from a seminar I did at a conference probably years ago. But the mind-body cohesion is just a term that I came up with 30 years ago when I was working on my coursework, and it's a process that I came up with that incorporates all of the little things that I do with clients. And this Minding Your Weight with Mind-Body Cohesion is a 15-page paper or little handout that I would make available to you if you want it. And it talks a little bit about what hypnosis is. There's a quick little introduction to what hypnosis is and what self-hypnosis is and how to do it, how hypnosis works, and talks about willpower, which a lot of people, you know, they try to use willpower to lose weight. Boy, there's so many things that will get in the way with that kind of a goal. You know, your mind just, there's all kinds of stuff in there, because try does two things. It implies effort, and it implies the possibility of failure. So if someone is creating some affirmations or some statements or some mantras, whatever you want to call them, about the goal so that they can keep it at the forefront of their mind, with a weight goal, obviously it's going to be a while. So it would be, I am in the process. I am is still the best way to start an affirmation or a statement of intention. I am in the process. Right now, your mind wants to know, what do you want me to work on right now? If you say, I'm going to do something, then your mind just goes back to what it's always been doing. So if you say, I am in the process of learning new behaviors, I am in the process of achieving my goal of weighing this much by this date, then your mind is going to say, oh, so I better do something right now, because if I'm in the process, I got to change something every moment of every day in how you think and the attitude about food, your attitude about movement. And I call it movement instead of exercise in here. And again, with hypnosis, we can override some of those negative old habits very quickly. Again, with a lot of motivation, you can overcome things that have been there for decades very fast, as those of us that do hypnotherapy know. So learning self-hypnosis, there's a little quickie little thing here about that. And this is also part of my Mind-Body Cohesion book that I have, which also, but then there's a article here about weight loss is easy if you can imagine. It's an article I wrote a few years ago, and I included that in this handout. And it talks just generally about how these things work. So the instant you decide, it's making that decision at a conscious level. I'm doing this. Not I'm going to try to do this, but here's what I am doing now. It'll take as long as it takes, but I'm doing it. And whatever sidetracks or anything happen, I'm getting right back to my goal and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to learn from those things that don't work or that didn't work or that didn't end up the way that I wanted them to be. And I'm going to get right back on track, refocus on my goal and keep right on trucking. Anyway, if anybody would like this, it talks about motivation for weight loss. I talk about the pivotal response conditioning that I teach people. And then there's a little script here that you can adapt, for yourself. You can, look at it and it might have some ideas for you. Scripts are just learning tools. That's all they are. They're generic. This is a generic script about eating at a buffet. For some people, that's a real challenge, right? Look at all that food. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Patty, what about the individual who, am I still with you?
Yes. Yes.
Who has incest or sexual assault, so they're keeping the weight on as a protective device?
Yeah. That's a little more than what we could get into in a 1 hour webinar. But yes, when you get into using hypnosis, as you well know, there's going to be what they call secondary gains. Sometimes they'll call that, or there's going to be some kind of a root cause from their past that might be a trauma. Right. And then there's a whole bunch of other things that we can get into in hypnosis, obviously, to help them deal with that. Yeah. I'm sorry, what?
So it's just one more thing to address for them.
Oh, absolutely. If that's part of it, you have to address it. And guess what? Even if they didn't plan to tell you that,
oh yeah,
it'll come out. In hypnosis, it'll come out, because if it's against the goal, that's one thing that parts therapy, by the way, is great for. It's about, you can pretend it's not there, but your unconscious mind knows you got to take care of this before you can get this. Otherwise, you're just going to be butting your head, banging your head against the wall for the rest of your life, thinking, oh, I can just pretend that didn't happen, or this didn't bother me, or I'm over that, or whatever. If it is part of the challenge of reaching a goal, it's going to come out in hypnosis. I have every confidence of that. And
one more reason to take the parts therapy.
Parts therapy is powerful, powerful stuff. And one more thing I want to show you. Again, I like to give you a lot of resources. There's a lot out there, but I try to sift through and give you some, at least starting points for maybe some new things you hadn't seen. There's a lot of studies out there that show hypnosis is so powerful for weight loss. And here's the thing. Everybody knows about yo-yo dieting again. Dieting works. People say diets don't work. Well, if you stick to most diets, they'll work while you're on them. But if you don't change at the emotional level and at the unconscious level, it's going to come right back and probably, even more, right? And we know that. So here's just a couple of little studies that I have access to. And again, there's thousands of them out there, but these just make the point. So when I want to show something to a client or to a doctor that might be referring people to me for obesity, here's something that makes sense. This one study in the Journal of Clinical Psychology, okay, they took 109 people, divided them into two groups, and it was a 9-week study. The first group made changes in their diet and exercise, which it says is the only way to lose weight. Most people know that. You got to change your diet and you have to move your body if you're going to lose weight. That's kind of without exception. The first group did that, but without the addition of the hypnosis. The second group did the same diet and exercise treatment, they're calling it, but then they also added hypnosis for reinforcement. Okay, this is 109 people. After 9 weeks, not surprisingly, both groups, because they were doing the diet and exercise, both groups lost weight. Now, here's the interesting part. What happened after the 8-month and 2-year follow-up with these people might surprise some people. The group that did not have hypnosis did not lose any more weight. And in fact, they had gained most of the weight back.
Oh, gosh.
The hypnosis group continued to lose weight during both intervals, meaning both at the 8-month period after and at the 2-year period after. They continued losing weight. And they showing that far more people in the hypnosis group met their long-term weight goals. And that was just with the 9 weeks, and then they let them go on their own, right? They'd already changed some of the unconscious programming, if you want to call it that. conditioning, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. Habits of thinking and things that are kind of stuck in there. So they met their long-term weight loss goals, and the hypnosis group continued the eating and exercise habits that they learned during those 9 weeks. So that right there, I love that one. That's a really cool one. I mean, without exception, they all did better. So there's no magic pill. Yeah. Who's that?
It's Diane.
Yeah, go ahead, Diane.
I think I've read that study, and that study is one where they had the hypnosis on every, they met with the people once a week. And
Mhm.
so in that case, they had hypnosis as an adjunct every single time. I think that's the case. That's the study. I'm not sure. I'll have to go
Yeah,
back.
that's what it's saying, that they added that to their
And
program.
so that's one of those points that when you reinforce, especially our eating behaviors and our is actually a highly complex thing. And
Sure.
so you can go into a session and you've got a particular problem, and the next week there's a different problem. And
Right.
that's where having the hypnosis every week as at the very beginning, especially,
Yeah,
really creates a lasting effect. And
absolutely.
so there you go.
Just so the rest of them know, Diane is a licensed, let me make sure I get it right, dietitian, right?
Yeah, licensed registered dietitian and nutritionist. Yeah.
So she has more flexibility with a lot of things that the rest of us wouldn't have, but still she understands. And I think what you're saying is that reinforcement also gets through those layers, right? Like now we got that kind of going pretty well. Now the next week they come in and there's something else that surfaces, and you can really get to all those underlying little issues. And
Exactly.
emotions.
Yeah, the science of nutrition works, but you have to get it into the mouth and chewed and swallowed. And so to get that, you have to actually get it here. And that's the prefrontal to the subconscious. And yeah, you got to get the brain, your mind body cohesion terminology is actually quite perfect for, you can't do, well, when you have somebody who succeeds, having gone to a dietitian or nutritionist, somewhere in that process, they have also succeeded in getting the person to believe, A, it's doable, B, they can do it, and C, they are on the process now. Just
Right.
the same 3 things that you started with. So
Right.
keep going.
Thank
I'm just
you.
saying,
Very
yay.
good. Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, you always have great input. Jen had her hand up, I saw. Jen?
I was just going to say that I would assume that what Di said, yes, that they had a lot of sessions, but also there has to be a lot of self-hypnosis taught, because once the study was done and then they,
Right.
continuing to retrain. So I think that there would be some homework there.
Yeah, I would guess that they must have had some really good hypnotists working with these people, because again, when we're working with our clients, those of us that are hypnotists, hopefully we're teaching them self-hypnosis, because that's what they're doing with us guiding them. I always that's why I like several sessions with a client, because by the end, I always tell them, you should never need to come back to see me again, no matter what your challenges are, because you can use these same techniques for any challenge that you have, not just for what you came here for. And we're giving them that little gift of teaching them how to talk to their unconscious mind, how to get that cohesion going between conscious and unconscious, the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, or whatever someone's term is, for all of the aspects that make that person a cohesive unit functioning at its highest level. Isn't that the goal? Yeah. When we're functioning at our highest level, we don't overeat. When we're functioning at our highest level, and obviously humans, we're going to have times we aren't functioning for, a few minutes a day, if we're lucky, at our absolute highest level. And that's when sometimes some negative behaviors or habits can start to get programmed in, can start to get trained in, either, whatever, or they might have been started like Sandra was saying, it might have been something that started when they were little children or years ago, some trauma or something that they don't even understand that it's related. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they don't even remember the trauma. So these are all things we can deal with in hypnosis. And that's why it's so permanent and long lasting. And again, it doesn't mean they're never going to have another problem in their life. I've been challenged with my weight issues ever since my father died a few years ago, but it's not something that I made a number one priority yet, but I'm working on it. It's a work in progress, right? So it's, you know, because sometimes people ask me, they say, well, if you're a hypnotist, how come you have problems? I'm like, well, because I'm a human. I'm a human being, that's why. And, you know, I'm a work in progress. There's always something that can get better, right? I am pretty darn happy where I am, actually. So maybe that's part of it. So, okay, hypnosis supports diet and exercise adherence. That's what they're saying, because they kept the eating and exercise habits that they were picking up during those 9 weeks, was it? I think it was a 9-week group. Yeah, they kept doing it because it became a routine. It became part of it. The next study, weight loss, so real quickly, for 60 females, at least 20% overweight. So these were females that had a significant amount of weight to lose, and they weren't in any other treatment. So in this study, the group was split into hypnosis and non-hypnosis groups, with both groups being given weight loss behavioral treatment and counseling. So the group using hypnosis lost an average of 17 pounds at the 6-month follow-up. The group that did not receive hypnosis, that just got the behavioral and counseling treatments, they only lost a half of a pound.
Wow.
Now, this is just one study, but if you show these to your client, it's going to help to create a sense of positive expectancy, because we know that helps to create positive results with hypnosis. It's about, wow, this really can happen. And the more you don't consider what won't work and start focusing on what is and can work, we know the better results the client's going to have. Oh, they also found that hypnotizability, I always find that a funny name.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother seminar. Hypnotizability and social and educational backgrounds had nothing to do with the results. So when somebody says, oh, I don't know if they're hypnotizable, it's irrelevant, because you know what? We hypnotize ourselves all the time by saying our client, you know, I tell my clients, they say, well, I don't know if I can be hypnotized. And I say, you came here because you want to quit smoking, right? Yeah. How long have you been trying to quit? Oh, about 15 years. Well, I hate to tell you, but you're really hypnotizable, because all I heard you say since you walked in the door is, I can't quit smoking. I can't quit smoking. I can't quit smoking. And you're really hypnotizing yourself great, because your mind is doing a great job at what you've been telling it. It always listens, right? And it's like, good, now I can't quit smoking. So it's working, see? We're just going to send it in the right direction for you. So anyway, this is a nice little 2 studies. Again, these are older studies, but you can find millions of them out there. I like little succinct little things to help to gauge people. What I like to do with clients also is, if we do future projection, is to while they're in that feeling, that sense, as much as I can get them into it, I would take a lot more time, obviously, in a hypnosis session, to find a word or a symbol that can represent how they feel, and bring that back with them to be part of the power of their pivotal response, to use that along with a breath to shift them into that state a little bit. Yeah, Jen.
Is my mic open? I just wanted to ask, I haven't ever given my clients paperwork before. When in the process would you give this to them, or would you email it before they even come for the session?
It's a personal choice. I usually bring it into the session and give it to them as I'm talking about things. Here's
Okay.
something you can
Print-
take
print it
home,
out.
and I might discuss it a little bit, some of the things I give them. And then maybe, you know, after you get home, the bigger things that I give them, I say, you can read this sometime in the next couple of days. You know, sit down and relax and read this, because I give them things to do at home between sessions. They have to take responsibility. And if they don't do it, then I always have my little speech. I say, I can't want this for you more than you want it for yourself. You have to really want this for this to work, for this to happen. You know, I'm going to give 100% of my skill and expertise to help you get it. You have to be committed that much as well. So if I tell them to listen to a relaxation recording, which I give them in between sessions, they do it. It's all in the presentation and how important you make it. You know, because when they walk in, if they start making excuses right away, you know, then we have another discussion about it. I say, how much do you want this? On a scale of 1 to 100, you know, there's a lot of different ways to approach it, but that's why, to me, I spend a lot of time in my hypnosis trainings on that pre-talk. To me, that first initial session pre-talk with a client, I feel like I get them 80 to 90% of the way to where I know they're going to get there now. By the time I do the hypnotic induction in that first session, I want me to know that they're on their way, that I know they're going to do this. It might take this long or that long, but I know they're going to get it because I got the motivation, I got their commitment, I got their agreement, I got their trust, I got, the rapport, I got them to trust me, and I've got them excited. And that's what gets them there. Right, Diane?
Exactly.
Excitement. Now, Diane's someone that can tend to be very low key. I'm absolutely joking. I think one of the first times, if not the first time that I met her was a women's group. When I first moved to Florida 20 years ago, I became the networking queen, because I didn't know anybody here. So I joined every group I could find, Chamber of Commerce and all these women's groups. And there was some women's group, I think it might have been Women in Networking, I don't remember. And I went there and Diane was there. And I loved her right away because she got up on the podium. I forget what you were doing up there, introducing yourself or giving a free gift away or something. And she started singing.
Wow.
And I said, I love this woman right away. Some of you know I used to be a singer, but I just loved her. I said, you had so much energy. You were bouncing off the walls. And I said, I really like this lady's energy. So,
Great.
And that's been a very long time ago.
it's been at least 18, 19, maybe 20 years. It was
And
probably the first year or two after I moved here. Yeah.
I don't quite bounce off the walls with the same vigor, but I still bounce off the walls.
And she has great hats. She's a great hat person.
What
Yeah,
were you
that-
singing,
You used to wear these beautiful hats, I know, at the conference and stuff.
Right now it's a set of headphones.
Headphones. Okay, anybody got any questions? Because we're almost out of time here. Boy, this hour goes fast. But hopefully I gave you a few things to give you some ideas. I'm sorry that I talk so fast, but I have a recording that it says tape on it. That's how old it is. It says when you listen to this tape, so you know it's old. But I did it in a studio and I spent a lot of money on it, and I still think it's a great tape recording. MP3 download for my clients. I still give it to my weight and diet people for the first couple of weeks. It's generic enough and it gets them started on their weight and diet journey with me. And it gets them conditioned to my voice, taking them in. It's got a full body relaxation, of course. So they're already connecting my voice to the state. So when they come back a week later, they've already been hypnotized by me many times since that first session. And now their mind, my theory is they walk in the door, their unconscious mind hears my voice and it goes, oh, it's already ready to go there, right? You've already, it makes your job so much easier if your voice is on there. So if any of you would like it, it's a generic, very generic, healthy body. It's called Create Your Ideal Healthy Body. And it fits for most people that come to me for weight and diet issues for the first week or two. And then I change it to, guess what? Stress, my stress recording, which some of you already have. And it's got a full body relaxation as well, but it's generic about how to deal with stress, because that's why people don't get their goal for weight. It's not about food because they want to eat. It's because they're stressed. And that's when those old habits start to sneak back in sometimes.
Hypnosis ability. I've talked to a couple people. I've not done any sessions. Most of this is just for my own edification, but I have talked to others and several people have said, oh, I can't be hypnotized. And and I have to think back. The very first time I was ever hypnotized, I thought I was too intelligent, that it couldn't happen. I went down so deep that the hypnotist was afraid I wasn't coming out.
That's because you're so intelligent, because intelligent people make the best hypnotic subjects. And that's a true statement. So you really are intelligent.
Wow.
It's true. See, all the pre-talk, and that's another seminar too. Those of us that are trained, you have your whole section of your training where you talk about getting rid of all those misconceptions. If somebody says, I can't, or I don't think I can be hypnotized or something, or I was on a stage show and they tried to hypnotize me and it didn't, anything like that, that just opens the door to me to educate them. That just means they don't understand what hypnosis is. That's an opportunity to enlighten them, because we go in and out of hypnosis all day long, honey. Most of us know that here. When you're on automatic driving to that grocery store you've been to 1,000 times, you're in a light alpha state. You can daydream. You can think about other stuff. You can plan your vacation coming up. You can think about somebody you love. You can look at the beautiful sky. You know, you don't have to be driving the car consciously. It already knows how to drive. I use that as an example in my pre-talk with my clients. And I say, you know, and people can relate to that. They say, yeah, that's right. You know, if I've been there a million times, I don't have to pay attention. But I said, guess what? If you're on your way there and a car starts to weave into your lane, how long does it take you to snap and to react and come back into the now moment? A split second, whatever that is. I don't know what a split second is, but instantly. And that's when it gives us the opportunity to say, that's your unconscious mind was driving the car. It had all the awareness in the peripheral while you were daydreaming, and it caused your body, because it runs your body, it made it react before you even realized what happened on a conscious level. So I talk about that's your inner protector. Your unconscious mind is your best friend. It's your inner protector. It's your inner healer. It's all of that. It's your best friend. It's your success mechanism. You just want to have it on board and tell it what you actually want instead of what you want to stop doing or not do or quit doing or lose. I'm going to lose weight. And then, you know, it's like I always use the analogy to losing your keys. If you keep losing your keys, you go look for them again. And if you keep losing them enough, you might get an extra set made or two, right? That's what your mind does with weight, right? Oh, I keep losing this weight and finding it again. I better pack some more on so I, you know, make sure I don't lose it all. I had a lady in a class one time. I said, how much do you, because I used their language at the beginning, right? I said, well, how much would you like to lose? And we reframe that later, but, you know, step into their world first so they know what you're talking about. And she said, I want to lose all of it. And this is on a video that demo I was talking about. And I said, oh my gosh, lose all of it, you'll disappear.
Right.
So, you know, our language is important though, because our mind is always listening.
I have a question on language though.
Yeah.
Because I come from the science background, sometimes I use too much hoity-toity language. I was wondering, you know, when we're carrying extra weight on our body, what that weight is that we're fussing over is fat. And that's actually like energy. That's an energy store, like having coal or a tank of gas or whatever. And, you know, I keep wanting to, you know, tweak the words for that because the visualization I do for myself is that I'm literally letting that storage be released into, you know, this high level of happy energy. And, you know, so that it's not bouncing off the walls like I'm, you know, in control. It's just that I have energy to do everything and anything I so choose to do, whether it includes, you know, hiking mountains or whatever. So I'm playing with that language to try and get a positive way of, so it's not losing weight, not losing fat. It's releasing, you know, it's like release the grease, you know,
or transforming it, transforming
transforming
that excess into energy that can then be dissipated or something.
It's letting your mind and your subconscious, which knows how to do this, release the fat that has been stored, because now is the time for you to have the energy.
There you go. Very good. And you just made me think also, part of what I do, there's a thing I created, you know, because these things sound good for your coursework, my dissertation, you know, all these fancy terms, pivotal response conditioning. But there's another thing called psychoneuroregeneration that I came up with, partly because of one of my first teachers. And the part of that is about teaching the client before they go to sleep to give themselves a pre-sleep, which you go through the hypnotic brainwave state when you go to sleep, a pre-hypnotic suggestion about speeding up their metabolism, letting their metabolism get revved up, you know, get some heat going to, you know, that turn that energy into, you know, there's little metaphors you can use and your mind knows what that means. So there are things we can do with our clients to get them to go to sleep and have their mind actually helping them with their weight goal while they're sleeping. And then when they wake up, I like to have them have something immediately when they wake up, a couple of statements that I either get from them, or I might give them something. I have one for weight and diet issues. It's generic that I usually give them to start with. And then we might change it to just one statement that they come up with, but little affirmations to set the tone for their day before they get a bunch of clutter coming in when they first wake up. Like, here's what I'm doing today to remind myself, this is my goal. That's when I'm going to reach this goal. And I am now in the process of it. So today, everything I'm going to do, I want my unconscious to help me to help as much as possible, make every choice I make while I'm busy or get overloaded at work or whatever it is, that my unconscious is going to help me to make good choices that match up to my goal. And if something I'm about to do doesn't match up to my goal, they can start hypnotizing themselves to let their unconscious kind of give them a hit in the head, knock them into the moment and say, wait a minute, that doesn't match your goal. And to give them that second to regroup, to pivot and refocus on the goal and say, you know what, I can have that if I want to, but that doesn't match up to my goal, so I don't need it. And that gets to be the new habit. Until at some point I had one lady in a class say, that she noticed it was a group I was doing for my dissertation, actually for my thesis. And one of the groups I did was for weight and diet, mind body cohesion. And she came back one of the weeks and she said, I went to the grocery store. She was so excited. She said, I went to the grocery store and before I even realized it, I had walked past the junk food aisle. She said, I didn't mean to do it. I didn't think about doing it. And I've never done that in the past. But all of a sudden her mind just made it so it wasn't even in her awareness. And she noticed it later and she was so proud of herself because it wasn't working at it. It wasn't trying. It wasn't willpower. It was just, she didn't think about it. So how great is that? Yeah.
That is
Well, we're a little bit over, but you know me, I'll talk all night if you guys. Thank you all for coming. Love you all. Take
Thanks,
care.
Patty. That was great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a
Bye-bye.
lot.